Hey, it's the Wild Vortex. It's going to be, that's one of my usual videos. It's just thinking aloud, sort of a diary, sort of a thoughts, reflections. Actually, just from walking around actually. So I'm staying in a part of London, I'm going to say where, but it's quite a touristy area for sure. Like and subscribe, by the way, if you're not already. But this will be just a long form video where most of this channel is where I wax verbatim on a certain observations, or so don't take anything I'm going to say in this video as gospel truth. It's just a stream of consciousness. It's my mind thinking on the fly. I might not even agree with everything I say. With all that said, let's get to the subject of the video. Again, I don't know what exactly I'm going to say. I like these, but so something I've been observing, obviously because I'm in an area of London where there's a lot of tourists, and this phenomenon has existed now for decades. People just going around, almost like just taking photographs everywhere. Basically, this is a proliferation of the phenomenon of people just taking pictures of everything, and the constant pressure to document every aspect of your life on social media. So, I mean, this is a well-covered subject, but I thought I'd just riff on it anyway, because it does. I've got mixed feelings on this. Like, obviously, I do engage in this myself. I'd be a total hypocrite if I was to say I've never taken a selfie. I don't agree with taking selfies. I don't agree with but the phenomenon of this has got a lot more relevant, right, in our society, because our entire society, it seems, is now driven by the internet and social networks on some fundamental cultural level, even spiritual level, maybe, not really, but there's almost a quasi-spiritual aspect to the influences and everything. I don't know, but yeah. So I'm just walking around, and I didn't have my phone on me. I'm making conscious effort now, just not. If I'm going out for a walk, I'm not taking my phone. It's not some sort of protest or anything, and sometimes I do take photos around the area I am, because at night especially it's quite ambient. It's quite a nice area, but so I myself I'm also guilty of this on some level. I do it more for artistic reasons, but then you could probably argue that the people who are obsessively taking photographs of every aspect of their life are also doing it for fundamentally artistic reasons too. So can I be so judgmental? Not really. And there is a pressure on people these days, I think, to just show themselves having the perfect life. I think really it's not. I don't actually have a problem with it all. I mean, what can you do? It's not like it's going to stop. It's just going to get more and more. But I do think there's a certain superficiality when, for example, and I think everybody's experienced this phenomenon on some level, when I don't know, say for example you see a couple or a group of people out there out on a night out, and none of them have smiles on their faces, and then they get their phones out and they all start, these sort of fake smiles go onto their faces, and then for the moment that flash goes off on the camera, they're but then as soon as it goes off, the entire mood changes. I think everybody's had I'd say probably the first time I started experiencing this was even early Facebook era, really. We're talking the early iPhone, when iPhone got adopted, and that is when it really became a obsession for people. Just you out, I can remember when I was in my hometown, I'd be out, and then suddenly taking photographs, with my older group that I used to drink with up in my hometown, and then suddenly obsessively taking photographs of people became a big thing. I mean, at first, this might sound quite sexist, but when this started happening, it was mostly the women in our group that were doing this, obsessively taking photographs of everything, every interaction, let's get a selfie together, blah 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 blah. I mean, I found it even sort of tiresome then, to be honest. I'm just really? Okay, we're just out on a night out in a northern town somewhere. Do we really need to document every single aspect? But I also have engaged with this myself. I'm not a complete purist. I have also, when I'm out and about, I try not to do it now because I just realise it. Like, there's nothing wrong, basically. I don't want to come off too like miserable here. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong. Obviously, if you're on a holiday, you're visiting a special place. Taking photos is just that's existed even prior to internet and social networks. It's not really a new thing, but I find the aspect of it which I find distasteful, I suppose, is when it's obviously people are faking emotion for the purposes of traction on their social networks. I mean, influencers would be the obvious example of this. These are people who make their lives, usually extremely conventionally attractive people. Their entire lives is based around just having photographs taken of themselves. This isn't going to go away. I'm not saying it's going to go away, but I do find it vapid. I find it vapid as hell. I mean, how can it not be? They could just your entire existence. And you know, the influencers, of course, they can just go into restaurants and say, "Look, I'm going into a restaurant. I want to promote it." Like whatever. But the fact is that with the TikTok and everything now, it's almost worse. Like Instagram, and I remember when Instagram started, it was basically like people just taking photographs of their meals. Now it's just a horrible world. It's much more like TikTok now. TikTok is a cancer. Fuck TikTok. I fucking hate that app. I've hated it. I mean, funnily enough, I was actually in Russia. I lived in Russia for 2 years. Fuck, I'm not there now, frankly. It's a whole other video subject. But up until last year, I was living there for a while, and it was very popular in Russia. And I fucking used it for a week, and I absolutely hated that shit. Obviously, it sends you more content based on what you liked before, but like, it was all just nonsense. I was like, this is the worst fucking thing I've ever used in my life. Like, it's just, everybody understands on a level what pure cringe is. Like, there's a lot of cringe on YouTube, which I still use quite a lot. But at least if you don't look for cringe, cringe isn't going to find you. On TikTok, cringe is just the standard. Doesn't matter if you go into your profile and try and like look for sophisticated, high content, you're going to get cringe thrown in your face over and over again. Whether it's some fucking teenager lip syncing to some fucking corporate shite, or I don't know, someone expressing like a really, not even a based opinion, but just like basically just non-controversy rules in that area, or just being like contrarian for the sake of it. So I think essentially anyway, like social media has weathered and worn down the quality of the discourse and the general culture in any way. Like, and you can't really do anything about it. It's the hardest thing. It's not going to change. Like, for example, I'm not saying that this is high quality content. This is mid tier, right? Like, this is just a white guy with a beard going on about social media. Like, this is not. I'm not even claiming this is depth to it. But you know, like even on YouTube, for example, if you have videos, this video is going to probably be about 15 minutes, right? If you have videos that are exploring something from, you know, with nuance, trying to explore it from many different angles, that will never be favoured over a 20-second clip of somebody dancing around going, oh, oh. And, you know, part of this is to do with humans' attention span. Our attention span, I think, has been reduced by the development of social media. Like, I think in some ways I'm a millennial, right? So I'm 36 now. I'm even approaching middle life, right? It's not that long till I'm 37. I think we were lucky in the sense that, yes, we grew up with the internet. But we grew up with the internet when it was actually still quite interesting, and it was still not this, whatever it is now, like this attention economy, really. Yeah, that was still there. Like, you had the early days of YouTube, you had MySpace, everyone was trying to get everyone to check out their band. Even I was involved in that. Like, I had the few music projects, Static and the Great Pisshead of Bognor Regis, and I created a page for them. And in the early days of MySpace, I tried to get people to listen to it. It was networking, really. It was like, but with music, even now, it's like, it's saturated. Like, I mean, in a way, this is good. Like that. In a way, this is good. Everyone can unlock their creativity and have a go. And it's a free market, right? So, free markets in terms of creativity, I think, is generally a good thing. Like, you're making something, you put it out there. You can't avoid, if you're making something, whether it be music or art, that people will have opinions on it, and books and whatever. People will have opinions on it. that's just natural, and that's a good thing. We want free exchange of, and you can't exist in the critical vacuum. Even if you're an artist, you wouldn't want to anyway, because you wouldn't develop as an artist if you were in a critical vacuum where nobody would ever have thoughts about your art. It's just a natural thing. But anyway, I'm veering off course now. So I don't know what this video is about. I'm just sort of rambling. I don't like in general the direction the internet's going, to be honest. For a long time it's basically the big five, who basically their platforms are ubiquitous. They're everywhere. You can't really, for example, if I don't know, disagreed with business decisions from Google severely in what they were doing in the world, as an example, I'd have to, I'm going to delete my Google account. That'd instantly chuck me off 3/4 of the services I use on the internet. Obviously, you got the Web 3.0, which is the decentralized internet, which is being developed as an idea. I need to look into that more. It sounds interesting. I definitely prefer it. I mean, I guess it's tied in with the metaverse as well. But even the metaverse, again, is it sounds terrible. It sounds like what we've got now, but even worse, with just faux, low poly, terrible, shitty, I don't know. It's not all bad. Some good things will come from it. Some good aspects will be developed, I think. But, I don't know. I mean, Meta seemed to be a bit of a clusterfuck at them for them. Actually, funnily enough, I got approached by a recruiter to get to join Meta, but I decided not to because I just don't believe in it that much, if I'm honest. Especially Meta's version of what it will be. I don't know what the solution is to this problem. There are some platforms that are emerging. I saw some advert recently for which will be good. I saw some platforms, I can't remember what it's called exactly. I think it was on an NFX video, but it was basically advertising this platform that is an aggregator of news, but they have they check for the validity and the biases. It shows you explicitly biases, so it means aiming for a more objective information space. I think that's probably what's missing. All these, because basically we have algorithms that select what we see on the internet based on what we've seen before, but then those algorithms are only as good as the algorithms, right? So no algorithm is going to be perfect. It's going to be suited for everyone. I'd say I'm going to end this video soon because I don't want to go on for too long. But if you want to read a interesting book which explores an extreme sort of science fiction version of this, I read a book a while ago called Feed by an author called M.T. Anderson, which sort of explored basically what it would be like if social media and the internet was in our heads. So it's like a young adult fiction novel, so you will hate the dialogue at first because it's basically leet speak, but everybody communicates in leet speak, but even more minimalized and reduced of actual meaning. It's frustrating, but it's worth picking up if you want an example of how bad it could get if this continuation of I guess the informational complexity and the ability to communicate something of interest gets worse. Anyway, yeah, we live in a weird time. We live in the times that De Boer basically warned of in society, the spectacle. We live in the spectacle. This is we're living in the spectacle on steroids, to be honest, with the modern internet. And again, we're all hypocrites in some way. I have used these platforms. I do often just post absurd as shit posting because I'm just so tired of seeing everybody's basically what are you going to do next? Just do a shit and take a photo of it. Yeah, great, I want to see that. May as well. A lot of the time, with a lot of the stuff that people post up, it's just utter nonsense. But then I'm involved in this process. I'm also involved in this merry-go-round of shit because all I do is post ironic, distanced memes a lot of the time because I'm just this is just stupid. So yeah, I'm also locked into this attention, and that's part of what these apps rely on. They rely on us because so the entire Facebook's income comes from people clicking on ads, more or less. So it's a system that's designed to hold your attention for as long as possible, If you get wound up, if you get into annoying political arguments, just going to go round and round in circles. If you start arguing about God or religion with somebody on there, that's good. You're staying on the platform longer, and you're more likely to click on an ad, which will generate them per-click advertising. That's the truth of it. And I still use these platforms. I still engage on them. Twitter, same thing, really. All of them, really. They're just there. They're basically algorithmically designed to hold your attention for as long as possible, and to get you as angry as possible in some respect, and they foster division. You could argue, does this division exist within us anyway? I mean, you can't avoid conflict in life, unfortunately. And taking, for example, what's going on in Russia, it's got to the point now with that, where you can either hold one view or the other. There's not really much middle ground, really. Are you against the invasion of Ukraine, or are you not, and somehow pro-Russian? My position should be somewhat obvious, given many posts I've done before. Obviously, I'm against the invasion of Ukraine, this latest mobilization. I might do a separate video about that though. But, in the case of Putin, for example, he has manipulated the information space, especially internally in Russia, for a long time. Even prior to the war, long before the war, the entire Russian regime is essentially based around manipulation of information. They just blatantly lie, and they just blatantly tell the opposite of the truth, or they just, there are so many examples we can go through, so I won't even bother. But they'll say one thing and then do the exact other, or they'll just say the inverted truth constantly. That's a corrupt regime, obviously. This is an extreme case, but okay, I've jumped around a lot there. This is almost 20 minutes long now, so I think I'll leave the video there. Like, subscribe, leave any thoughts if you have them. Again, this is just me riffing. I don't know if everything I've said here is coherently, even not fully believe it. I'm just presenting thoughts from the front line of my head. Okay, in a bit. You don't have to like, you can dislike if you want, or whatever. It's up to you. You're a free human agent. I want to almost stop liking, begging for like, subscribe. I don't care. I really honestly don't. If you like the video genuinely, then like it. Authenticity, this is something I think we've lost in this age of social media. And I almost hate myself. I'm just like, why are you saying like and subscribe at the start of your video? Let people choose if they like it or not. Rambling anyway. Ramble done. Have a great day.